I turned 52 the morning they poured the wine on me. It wasn't even noon. The air outside Denver still held the chill of leftover snowmelt, crisp against the rented deck's stained cedar, and the pine trees stood in their patient rows like judges. We were supposed to be celebrating. Claire had booked the country house herself. Rustic, scenic, overpriced. A weekend to unwind, she'd said, though I was the one who made the payment. Just like always, there were no decorations, no cake, no card, just 3 boys, Michael, Cole, and Ben, standing shoulder to shoulder like prosecutors waiting for a sentence they had no intention of serving. Michael, the oldest, held the wineglass. A red blend, something Claire had picked out because the bottle looked fancy. I bought 3 cases for the weekend, thinking maybe for once we'd sit at the same table and laugh about something small. Instead, Michael raised the glass with a smirk. "To our loyal contributor," he said, his voice thick with mockery. Cole, the middle one, chuckled and added, "The man who makes it all possible." Then Michael tossed the wine. I didn't move. The liquid hit my chest and ran down in warm rivulets, soaking the front of my shirt, darkening the fabric like spreading ink. Some of it splashed against my neck, sticky and smelling faintly of cherries and smoke. My hands stayed at my sides. "Come on, that was a good one," Cole laughed, elbowing Ben. "Lighten up, he's not gonna fight back." Ben didn't speak. He just lifted his phone and started filming. And then it came, the line that made something in me quietly die. "So when are you finally leaving?" Michael asked. "You're just the ATM here." The others howled. Claire, standing a few feet away in her wide-brimmed hat and sandals, didn't flinch. Instead, she raised her own phone. Always recording, always framing, as if life only counted if someone else could click like on it. Her voice was bright, performative, already planning the post. "This is hilarious," she said. "My followers are going to love it." She didn't look at me. Not really. Her eyes scanned the screen instead, checking the lighting, the angle, how well my humiliation would translate on social media. Maybe she thought she'd post it with some sarcastic caption, "When your sugar daddy turns 52 but still won't retire." Or maybe she'd just call it family fun. A little slice of our chaos to feed the algorithm. It wasn't the first time the boys had disrespected me. That had started years ago, slowly, like rot beneath wallpaper. First, it was forgetting to say thank you. Then it was using my name like an insult. "Greg wants to play dad again," Michael would say. "Let's all clap." But this was different. This wasn't passive disrespect. This was ritual humiliation. A performance for each other and for Claire. They weren't just ignoring me. They were declaring open season. And she was smiling. That part, her smile, is the one thing I keep returning to. Not the wine, not the laughter, but her mouth curved into something between delight and calculation. She didn't laugh with them. She laughed for them. For the phone. For the faceless audience she loved more than she ever loved me. I stood there a little longer than I should have. Long enough to let it all soak in. Not just the wine, but the years that brought me here. Years of compromises, silent sacrifices, late-night budgeting while they ordered food and left dishes in the sink. Birthdays remembered only when I bought the cake. Cars fixed, braces paid for. Rent covered when Ben flunked his second semester and just needed some time. Michael was 24 now, still living under a roof I paid for. Cole was 21, loud and arrogant, with no job except whatever influencer hustle Claire had encouraged. And Ben, the baby at 18, had absorbed it all like osmosis. Their contempt, their laziness, their understanding that I existed not as a person, but a purse. It wasn't always this clear. When Claire and I married, I believed there was a future here. I believed, with enough patience, love would come. I went to soccer games, bought Christmas gifts with their names stitched into the fabric, showed up to parent-teacher nights even when I wasn't listed as a contact. I signed their permission slips, paid their overdue fees, co-signed Michael's first car loan, which he defaulted on within 6 months, covered it. I didn't even ask for repayment. Back then, Claire would tell me I was trying too hard, that the boys would come around when they were older, when they understood what I'd given. But they didn't grow out of it. They grew into it. Entitlement sharpened with age. And she let them. Maybe that was the real betrayal. Not the boys, they were just acting like what they were taught. But Claire. She had once told me she wanted a partner. Someone stable. Someone dependable. Someone not like her ex-husband, who had vanished into the smoke of his third bankruptcy and second marriage. But what she really wanted was a financier. A silent investor in the theater of her family. A man who'd pay the bills and never ask why the show always starred someone else. I looked at her, standing there on the deck, recording my shame like a content creator harvesting drama for engagement. And something inside me, something I didn't even know was still alive, went still. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I didn't ruin the party. I turned, walked through the house, slow and silent. My shoes left wet prints on the polished wood floor. Claire's voice followed me, high and amused. "Oh, come on, Greg. It's just a joke. Don't be dramatic." But I was already out the door, down the gravel path, into the car. I didn't leave a note. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't slam the door or squeal the tires. Just drove. Past the empty fields, the shuttered gas station, the frozen creeks and bare trees. The silence inside the car wrapped around me like armor. Cold. Final. They kept celebrating. I know that because I saw it later on her Instagram story. The music, the dancing, the captions full of emojis and hashtags. Hashtag wine games, hashtag family time, hashtag birthday vibes. As if I had never been there. But while they laughed and posted, I went to work. Quietly, methodically, I shut it all down. The rent payments for Michael's apartment. Cancelled. Cole's credit card, the one I'd opened under my name when his got flagged for fraud, frozen. The autopay for Ben's tutoring subscription, gone. The family Netflix, Spotify, Amazon, closed. Health insurance? I left Claire's on until the end of the billing cycle. Just enough time to find out what life looks like without me footing the bill. I revoked access to every shared account. Changed passwords. Killed the backups. The house Wi-Fi would shut off at midnight. Claire's phone plan, one more billing cycle, then goodbye. I did it all with a kind of stillness that surprised me. No adrenaline. No fury. Just precision. Not to punish. To release. By nightfall, I was back in the city. I didn't answer my phone. I didn't check my messages. I booked a quiet hotel with no family plan, no noise, no history. And that was when it began, the unraveling. At first, it was just one notification. Then another. A domino line of alerts. Declined. Frozen. Cancelled. Returned. Their phones would have lit up like fireworks. Payments bouncing. Cards rejected. Subscriptions failing. Cole's DoorDash order? Gone. Michael's rent? Overdue. Ben's PlayStation Plus? Cancelled mid-game. Panic doesn't begin loud. It begins in denial. A few minutes of disbelief, then confusion, then the slow, creeping burn of consequence. But I wasn't angry. I was calm, because that was the day I stopped being their wallet and became myself again. I didn't hear from them right away. They didn't notice my absence, not at first. I suppose that's what happens when a man becomes invisible long before he leaves the room. They poured another round, posted another story, maybe even laughed about how Greg finally took the hint. They thought I was sulking, that I'd return like I always did, tail tucked, wallet open. But I didn't. The notifications kept coming. First, from the credit card companies, unusual activity detected. Then the insurance portal, 3 dependents removed. Then the apartment rental agency, auto payment for tenant Michael R. Failed, balance overdue. It was like watching a machine seize up, each cog dependent on another, until every gear screamed for oil. Only the oil was me, and I'd stopped flowing. The silence broke at 6:03 p.m. Claire's name lit up my phone. I let it ring, again at 6:08, again 6:12, each time a little longer. No voicemail, just the signal of rising panic. By 6:17, she was texting. "Are you okay? Greg, where did you go?" The rent payment bounced. Did something happen to the account? I didn't reply. At 6:24. Ben says his game crashed. He thinks the internet's out. You took care of the Wi-Fi, right? And then, is this a joke? Tell me this isn't a joke. But it was never a joke. That was their word, their defense, their excuse. What I was doing now was a decision. A clear, deliberate act of subtraction. I wasn't punishing them. I was removing myself from a role I had never truly been allowed to own. At 7:13, Michael called. I ignored it. At 7:14, he called again. By 7:16, he left a message. His voice high, irritated, trying to sound in control. Hey, look, we noticed some of the stuff is down. Like cards and stuff. Maybe you just forgot to pay? I mean, that happens. Just give me a call when you can. All right? He paused before hanging up. I could almost hear the shrug in his voice, the assumption that this was some clerical error, not a shift in gravity. They still didn't understand. By 8 o'clock, the messages changed. Greg, seriously, what's going on? The landlord's texting me. I told him you'd fix it. Cole's Uber won't go through. It's your card. You need to fix this now. But I didn't move. I sat on the edge of the hotel bed, arms folded, phone buzzing beside me. The carpet was thin. The room smelled faintly of bleach and television static. But for the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. Because I'd made the decision hours ago. Not when they poured the wine, not when Claire hit record, but years earlier. The first time Michael told me, "You're not my real dad." The first time Cole ignored me at the dinner table and asked his mother if he had to listen to me. The first time Ben rolled his eyes when I told him to say thank you. I should have left then. I should have seen the pattern not as a phase, but a mirror. But I stayed. I told myself I was building something. A future. A home. A second chance. What I was really doing was funding a lie. By 9 o'clock, the house went quiet. No new messages. No calls. Maybe they were asleep. Maybe they thought I'd come back in the morning, like a father returning from a tantrum. Maybe they thought they'd wake up to refunds, reconnections, restored privileges. But that night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the dark, the TV muted, staring at the glow of the city outside. My hands folded neatly in my lap, like I was attending a wake. And I suppose I was mourning the version of me who believed effort was enough. At 11:03 p.m. a final message came in. Claire, I don't know what you're doing, but this isn't okay. You're hurting all of us. I stared at it for a long time. The gall of it, the language of injury, as if I were the one who poured wine and laughter over a man who fed them for a decade. As if I hadn't bought them time and food and shelter and silence. They never saw it. Because real fathers in their minds are not the ones who stay. They're the ones they remember. The ones who left. The ones who never had to be tested. I turned off the phone. Sometime after midnight, I drifted into a dreamless sleep. I woke to a knock. Not the sharp, confident kind, not anger or rage. But soft, uneven, desperate. The knock of someone who finally understood the floor beneath them was gone. I opened the door and found Ben. Not Michael. Not Cole. Ben, the youngest. Still in his hoodie, shoes untied, his face pale under the porch light. No camera. No laughter. He looked up at me like a child. Like he had before the others taught him to sneer. Are you mad? He asked, voice barely above a whisper. I didn't answer right away. I studied him. He'd always followed his brothers. Laughed when they laughed. Mocked when they mocked. But now, standing alone, he looked small. Breakable. I didn't mean it, he added quickly. The wine thing. It was Michael's idea. He said you'd think it was funny. I said nothing. Ben stepped forward. Mom said you turned everything off. The cards. The rent. Even the internet. Michael's freaking out. He paused, searching my face. Are you coming back? There it was. The real question. Not about payments. Not about Wi-Fi. About me. The man they never called Dad unless they needed something. I opened the door wider and stepped out onto the porch. The air was cold. Ben backed up a step, nervous. I'm not angry, I said finally. Ben's eyes widened. You're not. I shook my head. I'm done. He didn't understand at first. Not fully. He tilted his head, confused. Done with what? I looked past him, toward the house on the hill, the one I'd paid for, filled with groceries, gifts, repairs, heat, light. All of it. Every silent service performed without applause. Done pretending I'm part of something I'm not. Ben blinked. But you are. You're. He stopped himself. He couldn't say the word. Wouldn't. I nodded. Exactly. We stood there a moment longer. Then I stepped back inside. Tell your mother the door's locked, I said. Tell her to figure it out. And I closed the door. The next morning, the calls resumed. But now the tone had changed. No longer posturing. No more clipped texts or laughing emojis. They were short, sharp, terrified. First came Claire. Greg, please, call me. I don't know what to tell the boys. Michael can't get into his online classes. His tuition portal says the account is delinquent. Cole says you shut off his card. He's stranded downtown. This isn't just punishing them. You're punishing me. I made coffee, ate toast, didn't reply. By 10, Claire's tone cracked. The edges of control she always wore, like makeup, like performance, had started to melt. What are you doing? This is insane. You're acting like a stranger. Greg, please, we need to talk. Don't do this to us. But it had already been done. Not by me, I had simply stopped pretending. Michael tried next. He called 6 times in a row, then sent a voice message. His tone was angry, but fraying. You're seriously going to let me get kicked out of school over some joke? You think we meant it? We were messing around. You've paid for everything for years. And now you just, what, cut us off like we're nothing? Nothing. That word. It echoed louder than he realized. I listened to the message twice. Not once did he say sorry. Then the university called. Not for me, for Claire. I could hear her through the hotel walls. She must have found out where I was staying. She wasn't shouting. She was pleading. Whispers, broken phrases, muffled sobs. I knew the tone. It was the same voice she used when the rent was overdue before I came into her life. Back when she had to convince people she was still good for it. The difference now was, I wasn't listening anymore. At noon I drove home. Not for them. Not for peace. I needed to see it. I needed to stand in the ruins and know it wasn't in my head. The house was too quiet when I walked in. Claire was on the couch, still in her robe, eyes ringed with mascara she hadn't bothered to remove. Michael sat at the dining table, hands wrapped around a mug he hadn't touched. Cole stood by the window, phone pressed to his ear, whispering to someone, or pretending to. Ben wasn't there. No one looked at me when I entered, but they all heard the door close. I set my keys on the counter and poured myself a glass of water. No one offered a word. Claire finally broke the silence. Greg, can we talk? I turned to her. We're talking. She flinched. Michael glanced at her, then at me, then back at his untouched mug. I don't know what this is, Claire said softly, but it's gone too far. I looked at her, this woman who had once begged me to take the boys camping, who said they needed a male role model, someone stable, someone different than their father. And I had tried. God, had I tried. This, I said slowly, is reality. You just never thought it would visit. Michael slammed the mug down. This is insane. You've been paying for my rent, my classes, my groceries, and now you're just done? You didn't even warn anyone. You warned me, I said. He blinked. The moment you dumped wine on my shirt and asked when I was leaving, you warned me. That was the warning, Michael. That was the loudest one I ever got. Claire stepped forward. Greg, you know they didn't mean it. They were showing off, trying to be funny. They're just young. No, Claire, I said. They're old enough to film it, post it, laugh. They're old enough to humiliate a man who fed them, sheltered them, paid for the roof over their heads. That's not youth. That's character. Cole finally turned from the window. You're overreacting. You've always been weirdly sensitive. I laughed. a bitter, hollow sound that even startled me. You think this is sensitivity? I stepped forward. No, Cole. Sensitivity was me listening to your mother ask for help because your real dad skipped another month of child support. Sensitivity was covering your braces. Sensitivity was getting up at 5 to make sure your car got towed before school because you left the lights on all night. I did that quietly, without anger, without thanks. Michael stood. So now you want a parade? A thank you card? Is that it? No, I said. I want nothing. That's the point. Nothing from you. Nothing from her. I cashed out. Claire's lip quivered. We're your family. No, I said calmly. You were my responsibility, and I took it seriously, even when you didn't, especially when you didn't. Silence fell again. I moved past them and walked to my office. The room was still arranged the way I left it. Neat, forgotten, untouched by celebration. On the desk sat a photo of all of us from 3 years ago. Christmas. I remembered that night. I remembered the way Ben looked at the tree, wonder still alive in his eyes. I remembered buying each of them something they couldn't afford, wrapping everything myself. Claire had posted it with the caption, "Blessed to have this man holding us together." Funny how fast that gratitude turned to ash. I took the photo and slid it into the drawer. Behind me, Claire's voice came, small now, tired. What happens next, Greg? I turned to her. You live in the house I paid for until the next bill comes. You figure out if the boy's real father wants to step in. You explain to Michael how financial aid works. You explain to Cole why the electric bill won't pay itself. And Ben. I paused. Something caught in my chest. Tell Ben I'm sorry he was raised in a house where cruelty was called comedy. Claire tried to speak. I shook my head. I'm not angry, I said. I'm finished. The next 2 days unraveled fast. The landlord called Michael again. No rent. Final notice. Claire asked if I'd reconsider. Just a one-time payment to bridge the gap. No, I said. Cole posted a video online complaining about toxic stepdads. He didn't name me, but I knew the words were mine. Distorted. Convenient. The comments were sympathetic. Victimhood sells better than truth. Ben showed up that night. Quietly. Alone. He didn't say much. Just stood at the door until I opened it. Everyone's mad, he said. I know. They think you're punishing them. I'm not. He looked at me. Are you punishing me? That one hurt more than I expected. No, I said gently. But you have to decide what kind of man you want to be. He nodded. A small motion. Then turned and walked away. By the weekend, Claire told me she was moving in with her sister. Just until things calmed down. I didn't argue. She packed quietly. No slamming drawers. No weeping scenes. Just careful silence. Like the ending of a movie no one stayed to watch. Michael called twice more. Then stopped. Cole's card was permanently canceled. Overdraft past what I was willing to fix. Ben stayed silent. I sat alone in that house, the one I once imagined would carry me into old age, and realized how quiet it could be. Not peaceful. Not yet. But honest. The kind of quiet that no longer lied to me. I turned off the last remaining subscriptions that weekend. The small ones. Hulu. Audible. Monthly donations to causes they once claimed to care about. And with each one I felt lighter. Not better, but real. The strange how quickly silence becomes normal. The first few days after they left, the quiet was too clean. Artificial. Like a stage set after the play ends. All the props still in place, but the characters gone. Their noise haunted the walls. The slam of a fridge door. The rhythmic thud of Cole's upstairs pacing. Michael's voice always half yelling into a headset. Ben's laughter, before he learned to swallow it in front of the others. Gone. The dishes stayed clean. The couch cushions stayed in place. I didn't trip over shoes in the hallway or find dirty plates hidden behind the TV. The mail arrived, but never for me. Just bills addressed to names I no longer carried. I let it come. All of it. The consequences. Claire's sister lived 2 cities away. a townhouse with a spare bedroom and less patience than Claire liked to admit. I knew she'd offer them a place, but not forever. Not once she realized their chaos wasn't cute, and their phase came with unpaid debts and expired credit cards. By the end of the second week, I got a text from Claire. "Ben's asking to come back, just to visit. Can he?" I stared at it for a long time. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. I almost replied, but then I remembered the wine, the laughter, Claire lifting her phone. "This is perfect. My followers are going to love it." No, not yet. He could come back someday, but not to visit. He'd have to return with something they'd never given me. Respect. Not fear. Not apology. Respect. Without it, the door stayed closed. I didn't reply. Michael's tuition didn't get paid. He was dropped from enrollment. Claire tried to appeal, claimed financial hardship. She even called me from a restricted number. I didn't answer. Cole took up streaming, or claimed he did. I saw the link passed around online. His face blurry in bad lighting, mumbling into a headset, asking strangers to donate. His bio read, "Self-made. No handouts." I almost laughed. Ben stopped showing up on social media altogether. He used to post everything, his food, his shoes, his friends. But after the house, after the knock on the door and my final words, he went quiet. Something in him had changed. Maybe he was the only one who listened. One night, about a month later, I came home from work and saw something strange on the porch. A small box. No return address. No markings. Just my name written in shaky pen. Inside, I found a single object. A watch. It was the one I'd given Ben when he turned 16. A simple analog face, brown leather band, the kind you wear if you still believe time means something. It had been missing for a year. He claimed he lost it. Underneath, a note. "I didn't lose it. I just didn't wear it around them. I didn't want them to laugh at me for caring about you. I'm sorry." No name. Just that. I closed the box, set it on the shelf, and didn't tell anyone. Not because I forgave him, but because, for the first time, one of them told the truth. Claire tried to return weeks later. Not in person. She sent an email, subject line empty. The message wasn't long. Just one paragraph. "You've made your point. We all get it. You were right. I should have said something that day. I should have stopped them. I was trying to keep the peace, trying to make everyone happy. I failed. If you want to talk, I'm here. If not, I understand." I stared at it for a long time, read it 3 times, and then deleted it, because it was never about making everyone happy. It was about making me invisible, the willing mule who carried their comfort so they never had to notice how heavy it all was. You don't apologize for making someone a ghost after they leave. You apologize when they're still fading, when they still have a choice. Claire never apologized when it would have mattered. People say forgiveness is freedom. That's a lie told by those who've never paid someone else's debts with their own life. Forgiveness is optional. What's necessary is understanding, seeing clearly. And I see now more than ever what I was to them. Not a man, a service, provider, a seat filler, a story they never bothered to finish reading. They used me, not with malice, but with indifference. The same way a vending machine is used. You press the button, take what drops, walk away, no thanks, no thought. And then, when the machine stops working, you kick it, demand a refund, call it broken. I wasn't broken. I was drained. They drained me. And now I've stepped out of their reach. I go to work. I sleep well. I eat alone, but without bitterness. There's no shouting in the house. No slammed doors. No guilt masquerading as duty. Some nights I sit on the porch with a drink in my hand and watch the lights flicker through the trees. The quiet doesn't scare me anymore. It holds me. Reminds me that I'm no longer spending my life as an unpaid actor in someone else's play. Ben sent another note last week. This time by email. "I'm getting a job. It's not much, but I want to pay you back. I don't expect you to answer. I just want you to know I remember everything you did." I didn't reply, but I didn't delete it. Not yet. Maybe that's the start of something. Or maybe not. But at least it's honest. So this is the part where the story ends. Not with a reunion. Not with hugs or tears or a Christmas miracle. Just a house. Paid off. Quiet. I still get asked about them sometimes. By old coworkers. Mutual friends. The polite ones say, "How are the boys?" The crueler ones say, "Still playing stepdad?" I just smile and shake my head. No, not anymore. Sometimes they laugh, unsure if I'm joking. But I'm not. And now I ask you, whoever's still listening, whoever hears this voice coming out of the dark, was I wrong? Was I cruel to stop paying for the very people who laughed as they poured my wine onto the floor? Was I heartless to finally act on the truth they always believed, that I was nothing to them? Or was I simply finished? What would you have done? Tell me. Because I stood there, stained and silent, and not one person reached out. Not one. So now I ask the world, would you have endured it? Or would you have finally walked away too?